are available now in case of emergency, just so you know.
We're just not gonna. Okay. No, we should be good. I'll do the slideshow. Tell speakers to speak loud and clearly into microphones. Okay.
If you're ready. Sorry.
Okay.
First of all, on behalf of the Transportation Riders United Board, my name is Nicole Brown. I'm the current board president, and on behalf of our entire team, from the very bottom of our hearts, we just want to say thank you so very much for coming out, brave and bold, and some of us be able to be here tonight to celebrate the state of transit, which is a very good state going into 2026. I believe will be one of the most exciting state of transit that we've had in a while. You are going to hear from dynamic transit agency leaders. You're going to hear from some amazing elected officials that are all going to talk to us a little bit about where we've been leading up to 2026 and really some of the exciting progress they have on board. And the exciting progress that is in store for 2026 and beyond. And so, for 2026 and beyond. So with that being said, we are all gathered here this evening to not only hear from them, but also to celebrate the stories of our everyday heroes, our riders, our grassroots advocates, and to be able to highlight their stories and how they have been able to really roll their sleeves in and make them a fight for good transit, better transit, and high quality transit that's accessible to everyone in our city, our region, and across the state this evening. So, like any event, this event would not be made possible without the generosity of our amazing sponsors. So we'd love to be able to thank WSP, which is a transportation planning agency, for their sponsorship of tonight's festivities. To make a daily commute or even an occasional commute from Detroit to Ann Arbor to maybe catch a Woodward basketball game or even to be able to hang out in Ann Arbor for the day. We'd like to thank Indian Trails, who runs the back. We'd also love to be able to thank our longtime partners in this work, SMART. They are our regional transportation provider, and so we are so grateful for their continued support of the work that we do and groups that they continue to push through. We also would like to thank the Detroit Transportation Corporation, as well as the Regional Transit Authority. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Megan to kick us off for the evening. Megan?
All right, I'm going to try to speak very close to the mic to make sure our friends on Zoom can hear us. We're still working through. We do try to have hybrid events to make sure everyone can participate in any way they can. Not always the easiest. So, like Nicole said, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This is not only a cold night for Detroit, but it's also kind of a dark time for our country. I want to acknowledge that a lot of us are feeling very concerned and even outraged about things that are happening in Minneapolis and elsewhere. But that also reminds me that it's an important time to be coming together, to join with our neighbors throughout the region to work to boost public investment in the critical things that enable everyone in our community to be able to connect and to grow and to thrive. And even more than just destinations, public transit connects communities and brings people together. That's something our country very much needs now more than ever. So I am so honored to be joined by so many wonderful transit riders, supporters, advocates, activists, leaders, and of course our amazing agencies. And again, thank you to our sponsors. special thanks to people who work at WSP. I wish we had time to hear from everybody, everyone here about what you think the state of transit is. But we also want to go home tonight. So we're not going to do that, but we are going to use use a little technology, a tool called Slido. So you won't usually hear this at events, but please take out your phones and go to slido.com/transit or scan the QR code. You don't need to download any apps, you don't need to create any memberships, but that website is something that we will use both for our Q&A. So if you have questions for our speakers, you can start putting those questions into the Q&A side. And then I also love to invite everyone to fill out some of the questions in the survey side. There should be a poll open that asks you a couple of questions, and we'll hear a little bit about who's here in a minute. While you do that, I want to provide a couple of introductions. I guess I kind of slid in and I assumed everybody knows, but in case anyone doesn't know, hi, my name's Megan Owens. I'm the Director of Transportation Riders United. I've been at this for years, so I know we're all for a lot of you. But it's so wonderful to see an awful lot of new faces, and we also have an awful lot of people on Zoom as well. And while a lot of you see me up here doing things, but I want to make sure you know that there's a whole team behind True that makes this amazing work happen. I want to take a moment to recognize True staff that has really grown and has really enabled so much of the amazing work that we've been accomplishing. Certainly, Deborah Freer there's Deborah. Our assistant director, she puts on amazing events like this. She helps fundraising and getting to know and building supporters and sponsors. And she builds partnerships with a whole breadth of different organizations so we can expand our reach even further. Many of you also know Joel Batterman, our campaigns manager. And campaigns manager is plural because we usually have 3 or 4 different campaigns going at once, and he's usually juggling most of them. So all of the different action alerts and rallies and protests and phone banks and all those great activities, Joel is running all of that amazing work. We're thrilled to have Zanaya Kelly as well. I want these folks to be a little wave. They're all so busy working. She's our engagement manager, working wonderfully with so many of our volunteers and putting on a lot of our events. And you'll hear from them later. We also have Teresa Denny. I should know how to pronounce that by now. Teresa, we build our videos and social media and so much of our communications. You've seen so much more on social media, and that's really Petra and Teresa, our fearless duo on the comms team. Petra is now a full-time communications manager. So bravo, and then Kirsten, you were an intern, and then Michael Golden Brown just joined us literally yesterday. It's been a busy one. As a Michigan Health Climate Fellow. He's going to be doing some great work reaching out to organizations all across the state to support transit. So that is the amazing team that does the day-to-day work. The true owners of True are the board of directors, an amazing group of community leaders and volunteers who volunteer their time, talent, treasure to guide, shape, and support True. So please join me in thanking our board of directors as well. We'll actually be adding several new members at the end of tonight's meeting, so stick around. And now let's see who we have here. Petra, let's see if the technology wants to work right, but we can see what Slido has to show us. I think if you publish, so we can see it. All right. All right. Clearly good. I don't think the survey worked.
It just popped up.
Yeah.
Oh, I am so sorry. All right, now I'll take the survey. I'm sorry, I thought I had that one like half an hour ago. All right, let's do a very quick survey and I do have a little bit of disappointing news to share. Unfortunately, the mayor had a scheduling conflict come up. Mayor Sheffield was not able to join us. She only told us just this afternoon. We are going to hear from one of her top spokespeople who's going to bring some remarks from her. We'll hear from Veronica in a few minutes. And then Warren Evans also had a crisis to deal with. And we will be very ably joined on our policymaker panel by Assad Turfe, the deputy county executive. So a few changes, but hey, given all of these weather things happening, it's no wonder some of our elected leaders are having a little bit of a hiccup. All right, so let's try this again. Intro survey. All right, definitely makes sense. We have more people from Detroit, but also a lot of Oakland. Oh, interesting to see how many Washtenaw folks. Let's hear it for Washtenaw County. For time's sake, I'm gonna keep moving forward, but please, if you haven't finished the survey, go ahead and do it anyway. Yeah, what services do you use? Okay, the Q line is the most frequently used of the transit services. But it is interesting to see. You'll see these percentages out, so I have to have more than 100 because a lot of people are using a lot of the services. Almost everybody rides at least some of these public transit services. Q-Line, Woodward, DDOT, FedEx, Smart, ATA, a little bit of everything. Excellent. And what else do we have? How often? All right. Good to see. You never know. But we have a quarter of our folks ride nearly every day. We got some occasionally and a few times a month. We know there's also people who can't ride very often because the service doesn't go where or when you need, so that is no shame, but it's nice to see we have such a breadth of different ridership experiences. And, okay, how we would rate our region's public transit? I think we got some, an average score of 2.8, something between meh and okay. We got a couple of people who love it. I wonder if they're sitting in the front row here. But I think, well, as most of us would agree, there's progress left to be made. All right, now let's see one more. What word would you use to describe the area's transit? Potential, improving, growing. But yes, inconsistent, limited, fragmented, infrequent. So yeah, we definitely think it's fair. All right, and we can skip those. That's more for my internal use. For those last couple of questions. So I want to take just a couple of minutes to share my perspective of the state of transit, and then we'll get on to our excellent panelists. Because that is really an excellent segue into the current state of transit and the accomplishments of the past few years. Over the past few years, the transit agencies in Metro Detroit have really struggled. I don't think any of us would deny that they've struggled to provide the critical service that so many of us need. And while they do provide essential transit travel connections for tens of thousands of riders every day, too often riders have had to wait for too long for unreliable or missing buses or streetcars. So it really has, over the last couple of years, been a crisis of no-show buses. But I'm pleased to report, at least from my perspective, not a scientific poll, but from my perspective, the no-show bus crisis is over. We have effectively gotten out of the crisis levels of reliability. And I'm really proud that for several years, True and our partners, Detroit District Power, Detroit People's Platform, and many others, have been spotlighting these problems and pointing out one of the most critical solutions: pay the workers competitive wages. And they have. And they have. Yeah, I got these guys in the front row giving me more. They know what they're getting into. It took reports and testimony and rallies and public comments and emails and phone calls and bus ride-alongs and more. But now Worksmart and DDOT have boosted wages for drivers and for mechanics and other staff to not only livable wages, but truly competitive wages. Could they be higher? Of course, but they're truly competitive, and it is really nice to see that SMART is now fully staffed for the first time in many years. And DDOT is very close, so we're seeing a lot fewer nursing buses and improved reliability. We'll hear more directly from SMART, DDOT, and other directors in a few minutes. And while there is still ways to go, we really are thrilled that that crisis level of neutral buses is behind us. True and our allies have also been shouting for years about the importance of eliminating opt-out communities. It's absurd for anyone living in a major metropolitan region to not have access to regional transit connections. That's been the case for decades, but the end is in sight. Thanks to great leadership from Oakland County Commission Chair Dave Woodward and other leaders you'll hear from in a little bit, along with over 2 years of organizing, testifying, mobilizing, advocating, a broad range of transit supporters. All of Oakland County now has transit connections, which is a huge step. They will share more about the progress that they've seen, but what's exciting is now we've been working very closely with Wayne County and community leaders to prepare to make sure that voters throughout the region understand how important transit connections are, because this year, Wayne County voters will finally have the opportunity to vote to eliminate the last opt-outs in the Tri-County area. We'll be hearing both from Deputy County Executive. Even more? Wow, okay. We'll be hearing from Deputy County Executive Assad Turfe a little bit later. And then near the end of the night, you can hear from our own Joel Batterman about ways you can get involved to make that campaign a big success. We at True not only been working at the city and at the county level, but also at the state level. As you may know, Michigan, at one time, the state government covered nearly half the costs of providing local bus service to not only Metro Detroit, but every one of the state's 77 transit agencies as part of a multi-billion-dollar transportation investment. Unfortunately, most of these billions go to roads, and after years of flat funding and rising costs, that state support has dropped to barely a quarter of those operating expenses, which continue to grow. We've fought for years with partners like the Michigan Public Transit Association, Disability Advocates of Kent County, the Michigan Environmental Council, and many, many others to help make the case to legislators why transit is essential. Last year alone, we prepared charts and data and reports and videos. We mobilized over 1,200 calls and emails to legislators. We got more than 40 groups onto a joint letter. We arranged in-district meetings and bus ride-alongs. We brought over 100 people together at the state capitol for a big transit day at the capitol. And all of that advocacy from so many of the people here today paid off. And thanks to some amazing champions in the governor's office and the legislature, transit won a big victory in last year's budget. Transit received fully 10% of the new road funding money, which we had to really fight for. Ensuring that local transit agencies will at least be held harmless for the next few years. the state committed to invest fully $500 million a year for the next 5 years in transformational transit projects across the state. That is something we haven't seen in, well, probably ever from the state. So that was another huge win that we achieved this year. We'll hear a little bit later from State Appropriations Budget State Senate Appropriations Chair Sarah Anthony about how that happened. And those are just a sampling of the great work that our trade team and other listening partners have accomplished. So we also have a year in review that document that you can also check out for more. There have certainly been great accomplishments, and we are headed in the right direction, but I'm a bus driver too, and I don't want to sugarcoat anything. Transit in Metro Detroit is adequate. I think is about the best. We are never out of crisis, but we moved to okay. It still takes too long, serves too few places, has too many gaps, fails to provide the convenient, reliable, high-quality travel that our communities need and deserve. Not due to any lack of effort by our amazing transit agencies, but largely due to lack of funding. Our transit leaders know that there needs to be improvement. DDOT developed a DDOT reimagined plan to double service and ensure, yes, that's here for double DDOT. What I love is that will ensure that most Detroiters are nearby a bus that runs every 10 minutes. It really can be transformational and make transit convenient. Now, they need the funding and the staffing and the buses to achieve it, so we've got work to do. SMART also started implementing their smarter mobility plan, adjusting and improving their routes to better serve the needs of the community. And they're helping Wayne County figure out how to effectively expand service throughout all of Wayne County, if assuming voters do approve that. But they, again, are still operating on a fraction of the funding that any other major metropolitan region has. So, we will also be pushing our state leaders to invest even more in transit, that was just a step. You'll hear this evening from the transit agency leaders about the critical work that their hardworking staff have been undertaking to provide reliable service and their plans to continue and expand that service. And we'll hear from policymakers who have more direct access to the purse strings and the funding changes that are needed to further improve and expand transit. Because, to be blunt, we need to double transit funding at the city, at the regional, and at the state levels if we're going to move transit from adequate to truly good or even great transit service that our region can be proud of. And then, before we wrap tonight, we'll ask you to get involved, because it's going to take every one of us in this room and hundreds of others giving what we can and doing what we can to truly transform transportation for Detroit and for Michigan. Coming together, I know we can do it. So while unfortunately Mayor Sheffield was not able to attend, she really wanted to, but we do have her spokesperson, Victoria Westbrook, to share a few remarks on behalf of the mayor. So, Victoria, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoria Westbrook, and I am excited, overwhelmed, and happy to step into service for the city of Detroit as Madam Mayor's Public Affairs spokeswoman. It's truly an honor to be in front of you all and to talk a little bit about what's been shared. Transit continues to be one of the most important issues for the city of Detroit and our region. For many residents, public transportation is a lifeline. It's how they get to work, make it to doctor's appointments, or simply get to the grocery store. Late last year, Mayor Sheffield had the pleasure of joining Director Kramer, Maggie Owens, and many other leaders to discuss some significant changes coming to DDOT. Some of these include new contracts with competitive wages for all DDOT coaches, and street supervisors, funding to repair landmark $160 million Coolidge terminal. Madam Mayor is also proud that during her budget cycle with City Council, an additional $20 million was added to DDOT's budget. And for those who rely on the Q line or the People Mover, rides remain free, and that's a commitment she is proud to uphold. As the fleet is renewed, we expect service improvements along many routes, including increased bus frequency and better on-time reliability. Last year, the first corridor of bus rapid transit-style platforms and new shelters was installed, as you already know, along East Jefferson, making pickups and drop-offs safer and more efficient. Mayor Sheffield wants you to know that within her first 100 days, our administration is listening and working to respond. We are committed to providing Detroiters with better transportation and expanding opportunities for regional partnerships so we can serve riders better. She looks forward to continuing the dialogue and partnership with every single one of you. I want to thank you all for your dedication, your advocacy, and your partnership in moving Detroit forward. Rise higher.
We're checking to see if our videos are gonna run. Looks like they're gonna, all right. Unfortunately, it looks like the Wi-Fi is having trouble handling the Zoom and the video and the audio and everything. So we will email out to you some excellent rider perspective videos that we are not able to share. But again, if you can come up and do us onto our next section, and we will make sure to share out those videos afterwards. Alrighty, good evening, everybody. Oh, teacher me says you can do better than that. Good evening. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here with you all tonight at our 2026 State of Transit. And I'm just super honored to be here. My name is Ann Austin, and I am honored to introduce our transit agency panel. I currently serve on the board here at TRUE, but my relationship with TRUE began about 8 years ago. I started off as a volunteer, and when I hopped on my McNichols bus to get on the Woodward to wait for the 38 Plymouth, getting from Detroit to Columbia, I knew that we had a big problem on our hands. But I knew that it could not be solved by just me. It takes bus riders, our elected officials, our community leaders, and some of even our agency panel tonight to get the job done. So as a board member, I've seen firsthand how important collaboration is. Transit doesn't work in silos, it works when agencies and us all come together. TRUE taught me how we need to educate, advocate, and mobilize for the people who depend on these systems every day. So tonight, we are going to be joined again by our wonderful transit agency leader panel. We're going to be joined by Tiffany Gunter, the CEO of SMART. We're also going to listen, our very own Robert Kramer.
slide. We can go to the next one. That's the Jason Hargrove award-winning transit center. Okay, just lay of the land. This is our service map. We've got our stars as our different assets. The big news really this year is going to be that we're going to be moving from the Gilbert, which is the red star to the left, to Coolidge, which is the yellow star to the left. None of you all will actually see that, except for Coolidge does have a spot where you can buy tickets and some community stays, so maybe you will see it. But really, it's about improving the conditions for our staff, which is what the people that make our service run every day are going to have a world-class facility instead of Gilbert. So if you fortunately next slide. Okay, so this is all our team members. So like I said, they're what makes the service run. Okay. Oh, you got one. Okay. So think about for this year, and as was mentioned just moments ago, the big news was last year is that at the end of the year, and now this is the year we're going to implement it, is that we have parity with Smart for our drivers and our mechanics, which is really a game changer, because it really helps us make sure that we can reward those individuals who take so much pride in our service work every day, and we can stop battling against our issues with retention and recruiting. And really, this is like a generational opportunity. The potential for change this year is incredibly high at DDOT, maybe more so than the other providers. But that was big news for this year. It's setting us up for a big year. This year, we also have otherworldly hit rate on these competitive grants that has set us up with funding to replace half of our fleet of buses. That's incredible. That doesn't just happen by accident. If we not hard work. I'm thinking about really some of the improvements this year focus on improving the rider experience. So it was mentioned we have the boarding platforms on East Jefferson. I saw one of the questions in Slido. Those are the highest ridership spots where we can fit the platform. So that is intended to be the pilot for that corridor. As we learn more about how they are good and not so great, which I think I got probably equal amounts of feedback so far, we'll see if that makes sense to maybe expand to other corridors in the city. But that's also matched with, more importantly, with time and frequency on Jefferson, and also on Grand River. We've also started our bench and shelter program. We have funding from the council to install benches at 200 locations at a minimum that have never had a shelter or a bench before. We're about 25 benches into that, but we'll be filling out at least the 200 this year. The shelter program, we have funding for 100. We're finalizing the environmental design process for those. And then also we launched DDOT Now same-day parent transit enhancement services as well. And then just thinking about next year is that thinking about really improve the on-time performance. So new mayor Sheffield, she talks about customer satisfaction, customer experience, customer service. That's what I was looking for in all elements of city government, and that translates perfectly to what we think is so important at DDOT and all the providers, which is providing good customer service and great experience. It's really important. And so all of our efforts this year are going to be focused on how can we improve that experience between on-time performance, bus availability, the technology on the buses, and also bus stop improvements as well. And really focusing on improving our operational efficiency. I'm sure people can tell lots of stories about seeing bus bunching, crowding, weird things happening in the system. This is going to be the year where we really redouble our efforts to really mature our approach when it comes to operational improvements as well. Again, that's not say it's like a new facility or something, but I know it's something that can make a big impact to each of you that ride our service. Thank you.
I had to ask the team, I was like, do you all send slides? So you got slides here, and I know what you already know, so if you don't need, I'm not really all that relevant to slides. I want to tell you what's really going on. You know how long SMART's been around since 1967, essentially became SMART in 1989. Next slide. All right. So I saw a question in the slide about service area improvements. Megan started talking about smart mobility moving forward this year. We kicked off the brand new year with increasing frequencies on Woodward and Gratiot to 20-minute services as we know we should have, and really we need better services there at 30 minutes on 9 Mile. We're going to continue in that vein. Check out the Smart Mobility website. Our Vice President of Planning and Innovation is very much in this audience. I don't have my glasses, he's waiting. Check out what he has to say about this as we're making more and more plans to increase the service. We know, and every time I come here, we have a conversation about trade-off, and it's service area versus frequency. We know we can't do everything, but we're going to try to do our best to make that service as meaningful to you. The smart mobility process that we went through was almost 2 years of strict public engagement to understand what the most critical issues were that needed to be addressed so that we could put forth a plan that people could believe in. I know that when we opened up the public comment period, Joel and Megan reached out and said, can we extend it a little bit longer so we can get even more input? And we said we will extend it for as long as humanly possible. But guys, the board has to make a decision on this, and we got to be able to turn it on. So we're happy to say that we are true partners with truth at this point. They can call us, they know that we're going to be responsive in the action here. In addition to that, we're also working, as Megan said earlier, you said all the good things. I don't know what I'm up here. About working with Wayne County. I see one of my board members, Deputy County Executive Turfe, who we hear from in a moment, so I'm not going to say too much to you, sir, about how we're looking at the Wayne County concept or the directive that they gave us in building the ideas for that is every community has to get something meaningful, and that's what we're striving for right now, so I'm excited about that. I think you skipped one of those slides that I did not talk about. As you know, we have over 5,300 bus stops. I'm going to go quickly after this, I promise you. This is the time, guys. I got here. So we have 5,300 bus stops. What I want to talk about is our Smart Spaces program. We are focused on-time performance and changing the perception of public transit. We're not going to get better unless people use our system more. More people use the system, more people demand the system, more funding comes to the system. And so when they see clean shelters with concrete pads, and we treat people, our users, our current users, with integrity and dignity and respect, what happens is other people try to serve us. So when I talk about that, I also know our on-time performance is not great. I kind of joked the other day at the SimCog panel, and I said, if you had a friend who only picked you up on time 67% of the time, you and that friend would not be cool. We gotta do better. And so we have to talk about doing better. We triage every week. We have everyone who impacts on-time performance sit down in a room and talk about the policies, the procedures, and the execution of said procedures to make on-time performance better. Same time, we're improving preventive maintenance in our locations and making sure that our buses not just get out of the gate on time, but they stay on the road. Nobody expects that bus to break down when they're getting on that route. We need to make sure our preventive maintenance keeps those buses from breaking down so we can keep it on a certain schedule. Last, I think in our partner, our Chief Marketing Officer would kill me if I did not say, please come down. We are, I think the press release is headed out soon. We're going to be doing Smart After Dark to try to attract, like I said, more users to the system. On Valentine's Day, shuttles coming from the out county into downtown Detroit so that people can enjoy a ride, free ride, because they're not starting that evening. Come down and enjoy the things that downtown Detroit has to offer. I believe our last shuttle leaves at midnight on that day. And so we want to make sure that people are experiencing flying buses for the first time in a great, safe environment so that they will continue to come back and try it again in the future. I wish I could say more, but I am out of time.
Typically, it's a hard act to follow, so I'll do my best. My name is Ann Arbor. I'm the CEO of the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority. First time I had the chance to be on the panel up here with everyone. If you don't know us, the RIDE is a public transit provider for the Ann Arbor area. It's land area over in Washtenaw County, excuse me. See some stats about us up there on the board. We think we do a reasonably good job, but the thing I really want to talk about behind those stats is the team. We've got a lot of great people on our board, on our staff, who deliver services every day, do a phenomenal job, and some of them are here. If you're on the board, or a senior leader, or a past board member of the RIDE, raise your hand right now. and our chief financial officer are online watching as well. So it's a great teamwork that makes the dream work, and we're doing a lot out there. Next slide, please. So some of the things we've been able to accomplish in the past year you might have heard of. Great millage plan. Back in 2022, delivered all the services for that ahead of schedule and on time. That was a 2.38 mil increase from 0.7 to 2.38. So that was a big jump and a very concerted effort to get that done. The Ypsilanti Terminal project, that's a great project ongoing. We're going to knock down the existing Ypsilanti Transit Center and build a whole new facility, much bigger, much nicer. We need to say thank you to Representatives Dingle, Senator Peter and Slotkin. We got about $8 million in earmarks from them so far. Just a little time to go. So we're doing great there. The Low Grant Award, like with Detroit, they got it in the morning, we got it in the afternoon. But it was we have a lot of plans and business information that you can see on our website, reading documents to see about a lot of our long-range plans. We're talking about bus driver transit. We're talking about even our Ann Arbor terminal gets a blow up, the garage, a whole bunch of things. So there's a lot going on there. Too much to talk about in detail, but I do want to talk about one thing that I think I just saw a comment on the Slido about. One of the visions in our long-range plan is for our regional services emanating out of Ann Arbor. Depending on who you talk to, somewhere around 80,000 people commute in and out of Ann Arbor every day for workers. This is a huge market, potential market for transit. We have a vision we're working on with large intersect parking red lots all over freeway rings outside of our area to try to get maybe 10,000 of those people onto the highway coach style buses that we see. That's a big deal behind the scenes. A lot of technical work right now. But we look forward to partnering with state drivers in the future to get that done. And I think that's it. Love to get questions from you later, but thank you so much for your time. Is this close enough?
Yes.
Okay, everybody. Okay, let's get going. All right, RT's mission, vision, values, creating new and better ways to connect people. I won't get the rest. I think everybody knows the RT has been around for 10 years. We have a 10-member board. It covers all the counties in the city of Detroit. This is the map. It definitely does not look like this on a computer. It's much sharper. But maybe apropos in some ways in terms of the complexity of the system that we have the joy of coordinating. So I think everybody understands the system and all the pieces in it. Go to the next slide. All right, so the three things we like to say that the RTA does. First and foremost, we're transit subject matter experts. So we create the blueprint for transit in Southeast Michigan, all 4 counties in our regional master plan. We're going to be updating, approving the 2025 version of that plan at our board meeting in February. We lead coordinate studies of mobility corridors. We administer state federal funds and grants coming to our region. So we plan, we coordinate, we fund, we accelerate. We're drivers and doers. So over the last few years, we've taken the responsibility on for several regional services and programs. Most recently, and probably the one that's been in the news mainly is the Q line. So we are the owners and operators of the Q line streetcar. It's been a year, just over a year. It's been a long day in the snow for the Q line, to be honest. But it's been a really, really rewarding experience for the RTA. It's been great working with the Q line team. They are a very, very dedicated team that is pushing through every day to make the streetcar come on time. We have a lot of plans for what we can do in the future for that service. We have D282 and DATS. Want to make sure to shout out the ride in terms of partnership on D282. We would not have that service without them helping us get started. DATS has been very successful. Both of those continue to increase ridership, and not just a little bit. We're talking 25, 30% every year. They're growing and growing. running what we call the My Ride 2 program. This is a mobility management service, so anybody in the entire region, all 4 counties, can call 1-855 My Ride 2 and get any information about any types of services you need, particularly for seniors and people with disabilities, but really I encourage people to use that service. I always want to make sure people use that to get the information they want. Community connectors, the one thing I want to highlight here is we've taken a lot more of an aggressive and direct approach to doing state advocacy. Only 30 seconds? Okay. So the one thing I'll highlight here is that every year we do an annual report to the legislature, and we go and present in front of the legislature. We try and make that report a regional report covering all the great things we've done and all the things we want to educate our legislators about. We usually turn that in March of every year, so we're going to be doing that again this year. 25-year review. I think most of this is great stuff that we talked about. The one thing I haven't said that I do want to say is Transit Act. Transit Act. So, one of my favorite quotes I heard talking about the RTA is, the Transit Act was the RTA as hard as an RTA. That is the absolute example of why having an RTA here that can pull that partnership together, bring that value to the riders, work in partnership with all of our partners, the state and everybody else to bring that great benefits to the region. So we're really, really proud of that. We have a lot of exciting marketing and other things that we want to be doing around that now and into the future. So what do we want to do in 26? More riders, more Transit App users. We have a lot of pilots and other things that we want to bring to fruition. We're also doing some work around bus stops and mobility improvement. So happy to talk more about these things as well. Thanks.
Great afternoon, or great evening. Thank you, Ben. We appreciate that. So my name is Malia Howard. I currently serve as a newly appointed 3 weeks in general manager for GTC and the Detroit People Mover. I am an uber competitive person, so that's something I do drive to. The Q line came in first, I felt a little but what I like to say is that over my last, because this is the beginning of week 4, we are a small but mighty group of 83, and those 83 people continuously, the last almost 40 years, have given you the opportunity of a lifetime, riding on the Detroit People. There is nowhere else better than to get a view of our amazing waterfront, to be able to have a conversation just randomly with the residents as they get on and off of the People Mover. Oh, okay. There's an opportunity for you to engage as you go along our system and be able to explore all 13 stops. And so as you move through the system, all of you said you understand that there is so much opportunity and so much waiting for you at every stop. And that is what I appreciate about our system. So last year, you go back on the slide, please, I appreciate it. So last year we did 1.3, last year we did 1.3 million total rides. Wow. 1.3 and I do know our illustrious comms leaders here, Ms. Alexander, and she let us know, she let me know, 500,000 less trips in a car because somebody was able to take the people over. So think about that when you think about transit. I know all of you are in here in this space because you do think about transit every day, but think about how many fewer rides people are actually able to have as they come into our system. I know in my previous capacity with the city, I always made it a point to ride the People Mover or the Q line, especially if the walk was 2 blocks off on either side. It made more sense. What sense did it make for me to drive my vehicle when I had public transportation, and on top of that it's free, to get where I need to go back and forth from? So that, please go to the next slide. So that was always an important thing for me in my ridership on those 2 services. And so for 2026, we wrapped 2025, we did a ton of great things. I was able to participate in our holiday give back at the station. So you got to ride the people mover, you got to see some of your favorite Detroit artists. I know I heard them get I'm not gonna do it. You got to see some of your favorite Detroit artists, and we were able to provide about 120 families with Christmas gifts. And who doesn't want that? If you don't know, you should have been there, because I actually enjoyed it. So you got to see Santa, but most importantly, we shot our first commercial. We opened up our very first tiny library. It's okay, people, as I can talk about it. And we were able to get a lot of switches replaced. And we opened up the Detroit People Mover online store. DetroitPeopleMoverStore.com. Thank you. And so for 2026, our priorities stand as such. Last year, we started and kicked off of our community engagement, our system study. And so that will be going on until May. So I encourage all of you to go to the peoplemover.com website, learn about what we're doing in our system study, catch some of the next needs, because your input is important. Right now, people have got us moving into several different directions for possible expansion and improvement and upgrades to stations. And all of that matters, especially if you ride the system, and especially if you want to ride the system. Because it might not take you where you're going now, but if you don't say something, as I always say, close mouths don't get fed. If you don't say something, how am I supposed to know where you're going, right? And so with all that being said, all of these enhancements, reconfigurations, and downtown mobility improvements are critical for us, not just the Detroit People Mover, but for all of us that sit on the stage today. Because we are really, truly trying to be an intermodal hub for all things. So just understand that the People Mover is here. We celebrate our 40th anniversary next year. But I want you to know this, that the Detroit People Mover is elevating Detroit.
As you can tell, there is so much going on the transit front, and I know we could hear from these guys for far longer. We're going to take a couple of questions from Slido, and then, as many folks know, we do a monthly Transit Tuesday talk, and we are working with these folks to arrange an opportunity to have a specific hour-and-a-half long Transit Tuesday talk on each of these agencies, so we can talk in much greater depth about all of the amazing things you're doing and ask them the hard questions. So we've got some great questions on Slido, and I may slide in a few myself. We are going to take just a few short minutes, but we'll start with a little bit of a tough one. How will, to be that smart, well, I guess I would say, how will all of your agencies protect citizens from ICE on buses and transit property? Anyone who is comfortable and able, who's able to answer, maybe I'm comfortable, but are you able to say anything about working with or not working with ICE? No? All right, I will say, for many in the audience, please talk with your leadership about what you would need to or not do. If ICE directs your agency to provide them buses to haul people, is that something you do? If ICE gets on bus and tries to take people off, is there a limit? So please do think about that.
Definitely something we're talking about in terms of policy, but nothing that I can speak on today without going to have a conversation.
Understood.
This is my first time here, and now it may be my last time. We've been looking into this real close, lawyers, up and down. We haven't found a legally defensible reason why we can deny a law enforcement officer entry into a public space. And to do that means that the agency is now breaking the law, which gives some people ammunition. So we understand how frightened people are. I mean, I think we see it every day, right? But as a transit provider, we're a mobile public space, which means open to everybody, good and bad. So that's a reality I think every industry, I know every agency in our industry is grappling with.
Thank you. We know this stuff is not easy, and we appreciate that you're thinking through it. I don't know if this will be any easier or not, but can we expect any rapid transit, bus rapid transit, Michigan Ave, Grand River? What type of opportunities are there for, I'll expand that to saying faster and/or true bus rapid transit? What's possible?
Okay, I'll go first. So what I've seen over the years, and this has been a couple decades now, is that we've been very heavily and singularly focused on getting a full funding grant agreement and going all or nothing in the bus rapid transit space. So what I like to think of is we get inches in our yard sometimes. And so what we're looking at is some opportunities to draw down some funding so that we can create better shelters, maybe isolate, have a dedicated lane, and start working incrementally towards those types of services that people want, with speed jumping, signal preemption, so that we have a system that operates like bus rapid transit, and then the beautiful vehicles will follow.
Use the floor spot.
Fix that one, okay. I can say, so from DDOT's perspective, if you think about the DDOT Reimagine Plan, it's focused on having this network of corridors that have high frequency service. And for me, it's easy to say because we don't have the capital to do like a gold standard BRT application anywhere yet. But really the most important elements of the BRT system are the frequency, right? And where it takes, how it connects to the other high frequency routes. So that's the whole DDOT Reimagine Plan is based on having this route network of 10-minute frequency, maybe 15-minute tops. That's sort of a visual way. Now you're able to make those kind of connections. I think I mentioned earlier that's linked in with how the city's doing the next master plan effort, focusing on neighborhood nodes. So really, I think all of this, including working with Smart and Ann Arbor, and then with our 3 rail partners, is all about just building that network. That's really the benefits that you want to have. It's a high frequency network that connects more people to more places. What kind of venues we have, I think we'll build on those incrementally as we find money in the couch cushions or from friendly politicians. But in the meantime, we're going to focus on a good frequent network.
I'll add, on Washington Avenue in Ann Arbor, Pennsylvania, we also have aspirations for bus rapid transit. Can't agree more with my colleagues. It's the frequency that matters. All the capital improvements will get there. We're already very close to BRT level frequencies with express routes between 2 areas, cutting travel time down. We've done a lot already there. We do have a project to initiate the small start study to enter that funding pipeline. It's on the books. We're talking about when we can begin that. A little bit of bandwidth issue among staff. We want to handle some of these spinning plates once we get at it. And frankly, anticipating how well certain things will be received in Washington, D.C. these days, it's a bit of a crapshoot. So that's always something we have to do.
Actually, I was going to ask for a follow-up. You guys have your first section of dedicated transit lane. How's that going? And how does that fit into that frequent reliable service?
Thank you. Yes, we do have one block. But a very important block, State Street right up against campus, dedicated bus lane, one direction only. Huge thanks to the city of Ann Arbor and the University of Michigan for making most of it. We chipped in. It's going very well. U of M buses use it, we use it. It's the other day, it is so nice to slide past all the stops traffic. It's got the special signals with the bag, the horizontal, vertical, high blinking sort of thing. So it's legit bus lane, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, I would just say I agree wholeheartedly with everything everyone said. The 2 other things I want to say are majority of our corridors are not corridors, so we have another major partner that we need to continue to work with on developing any projects along those corridors. They have some good, exciting, and I'd say progressive planning studies that we're able to tier off of to start putting some of these projects together. And I also want to highlight that we have a what is now called a congressionally directed spending request. Used to be called remember those we don't call that anymore. It's Senator Peter's office for some dedicated things for the Q line. So we hope that comes through this session.
we'll do a follow-up for Ben, I guess, something always comes up. Any chance of a new RTA ballot measure coming up? Because that's how we're doing it. We gotta double the funding if we're gonna have great transit. So what's the latest talk?
So the number one thing that we're focused on this year is Wayne County's efforts and our partners in Macomb's efforts to renew their smart ballot initiative. That's our absolute number one focus. That closes the gigantic transit gap in the region. So that's our focus. On top of that, once that's done and we're over that hurdle, I think we'll begin talking about what we can do in the future. Right now, our focus is working in partnership with everyone here, delivering value and things we're responsible for. So that's what
Excellent. And speaking of that Wayne County ballot measure, which we'll certainly talk more about in a little bit, I wanted to see, I don't know if this was a Tiffany and a Matt question. Have you guys started talking about how we're going to connect Wayne and Washtenaw counties together? Can we get some direct service, Michigan Ave all the way to Ipsy? Can we relaunch that Ann Arbor to Canton type of service? How can we make sure that when we extend transit throughout all of Wayne County, that they can easily connect to Washtenaw as well?
I used to love it when this was just a big question.
this is great.
So, as we're looking to eliminate opt-outs, absolutely we want to connect this region further. As I said earlier, though, this is a trade-off, the funding limitations, and we want to make sure that we're serving the most dense populations that have the greatest access to jobs and education. So, more to come on that, but today I don't want to make promises that we may not be able to deliver on now.
I'll just jump in and say, we do have a connection between Ann Arbor and Detroit, so we didn't have it before. So, what I do to there, I think there's a lot of opportunities to make some very meaningful, small adjustments to create some of these connections.
Is it safe to assume that Smart and ATA, if the resources were available, would be happy to link connections between Ann Arbor and, or between Wayne and Washtenaw?
Yes.
Yes. as long as the money is distributed out
Fun fact, I replaced Matt at some before he took off to Alberta over 20 years ago. It's a little cubicle, so we are hard. We've been working together for a long time.
Absolutely. I did want to ask Malia. There's been a lot of interest in the study that you guys have going on about just how feasible is it to expand the people mover, and I'll tie that to another question of are there any conversations of expanding services like UTH and DAX to connect places like Toledo or Monroe or Lansing or Grand Rapids. So expansions for people mover, additional connections.
Okay, so,
And you can put the mic pretty close so people can hear.
So this study has been, I think, a long time coming for some people. So as we explore connectivity and as we explore options, I believe it to be feasible. Obviously, we have to raise funds. If that's a large capital investment in the city and the infrastructure, but I believe if we got lawmakers and philanthropic folks and all the people to the table, I think it's something that we can pull off clearly. And I believe a lot of residents want to see it because there's a lot of opportunity. And so, again, if you go and look at the study and look at some of the results that are happening right now, I can't guarantee anything. This is the first phase of the study, but the way folks are engaging and being thoughtful about this process gives me hope that this is something that lawmakers and others will want to see happen for the expansion.
Excellent.
Okay. So we are going to start, we've been working with the Ride Air Express Bus study. And we're going to start looking at some potential expansion of our D2A2 gas services this year. Just starting the technical work, try to identify what's feasible, try to identify what the next best market is. Those have been successful. I believe in, I believe our team believes in, our board believes that there's more to be done in that space, so we're going to go through that.
Excellent. We are running short on time. We will absolutely arrange times to get some Trades Tuesday talks together in a lot more detail, but I want to invite, I will share one of the other popular questions. When will our leaders have the audacity to dream big? So I will invite each of you to make any closing remarks that you might want, if you would like to respond to that or other progress that you are making.
Dreaming big is absolutely a relative concept. My big dreams are on-time performance and service reliability, and from there, the possibilities ahead of us. So my big dream is to at least do the things you expect us to do right, correctly, and do it quickly.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think we need to match the big dreams with big money.
Yes.
You know, and I want to thank True and the Michigan Association. They did a huge amount in Lansing this last year. They deserve a huge round of applause for what they managed to do.
I would say, I think I mentioned earlier, it's a once in a generation opportunity. I think just that we got celebrated, that rings true across all the providers. And the support from, again, DDOT Lens, City Council, from the residents, but then also thinking about our other providers. This is the time for us to make some real change. And Tiffany and Ben and I joked about 3 Musketeers, come up with some other, old cartoon maybe. 5 of us to be part of, but this is really the time that the right people are on the stage, the right people are in the audience, the right people are in places. And again, there's a lot of hard work ahead of us, as Matt mentioned, Tiffany mentioned, but this is the time to do it, and so the sky's the limit.
Excellent.
I honestly believe that our study is a dream big, so
Yes.
we just need to hone down on what it is we want to see and do. If you don't know me, I'm a neighborhood busybody, one of the biggest community advocates in the city, just because I love the community and I want to hear it all. So come to the meetings, share your thoughts and ideations, because without you, there can't be no us. So always remember that. And before I close out though, I want everyone to take a second and wish Brother Cunningham a very happy birthday. Brother Cunningham. Everybody just wished you happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I can follow that, thank you. Great. I think everyone said it really, really well. Now's the time. We all know each other really well. We're all passionate leaders. We all want to work together. We all have big dreams. We all understand what the realities are. But working together, we are going to be able to secure what we need to move ourselves to the next level. So I just encourage us all to stay working together, everybody in this room. We saw what we could do at the state capitol. We're going to need more of that. I love everything True's been able to do. Being at their 25-year anniversary was amazing. I was in one of the very first early meetings of True. I can't remember what building it was in before I even started. So I think we can continue to get there together. And that's what we're all about at the RTA. So just continuing to move everything forward and just get everybody to be on board with everything that we're doing at the RTA and all our transit providers.
Thank you. And I will say, we think while those might be a little bit challenging questions, at least people aren't whining and complaining about how bad the service is. Now, at least everybody's pushing for more, but they're not complaining about how bad it is. So, silver lining. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone. And Ben and Robert, Tiffany already got their lovely transit, the transit champion pin. Definitely not brought to come back, Matt. And we have a special transit champion pin. These folks work work incredibly hard. Let's give them a huge thank you for all of the work they're doing. Okay, I guess I want to put it over. Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, videos are not working, so we are going to jump right into our next panel.
Good afternoon. Sorry, good evening. Good evening. How are everyone today? So my name is Donald Stubby. I am a community engagement specialist with Commission League for Public Policy. We are very, very honored to have True to be our partner working on these issues that are extremely important for economic justice to eliminate poverty in our state. Just a very personal story to me. I met Megan in 2016 when we were trying to work on the countywide initiative. Public transit is very important to me personally because at one point in my life I was unemployed for 3 years, and when the city of Detroit decided to make the crosstown bus, which we all know the Warren bus, when they extended that past Detroit into Dearborn Heights, that move ended my 3 years of unemployment and allowed me to get a job that allowed me to go back to school and do the things I need to do, and that's why I'm here today. We're making a decision to allow people to get the opportunity to get out of poverty and to get into a better situation for themselves and their families. So I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our policymaker panel. I would first like to start with Dave Woodward, who is the current chair of the Oakland Board of Commissioners. Since 2019. I would like to also introduce Assad, who is our Wayne County Deputy Executive. He took office in 2022, and prior to that, he served as county executive, as the chief of staff, and I would also like to introduce State Senator Sarah Anthony. Senator Anthony is from the 21st District. She assumed office in 2023 and currently serves as chair of the State Senate Appropriations Committee. Please welcome our panel.
All right, thank you all so much. I really appreciate you making time in your very, very busy schedules to be here. Y'all think about they got hard questions, just be waiting. We like to divide this event into two panels because certainly the transit agencies, the heads who are working on all of that day-to-day work are important, but in many ways, don't tell Bill enough, right? These guys are the really important ones. They're the folks who have a lot more direct connection to resources and the policy decisions and the funding that's needed to make it happen. So we are so thrilled to have two county and a state leader join us tonight. I just archived all of those lovely questions you had for the first panel to make space for questions for this panel. So apologies if there was actually one. Put your questions in for these guys. I wanted to start by asking each of you to share a little bit. One of the themes we've been talking about tonight is the progress that's been made. Really hard hard times over the last, but the transit's making some really positive progress. I was wondering if each of you could share a few thoughts about the progress that you're most excited about the transit in the region, the county, and the state has seen.
Sure, I'll start. Thank you very much, Donald. Thank you again for the introduction.
I would ask, in order for the people on Zoom to hear, you gotta really put them on.
Oh, yeah, really put it. Oh, okay. That's never been a problem before. So, from an Oakland County perspective, I'll speak for myself individually. My commitment to public transit, like Donald, I would have been able to go to college at Wayne State University if it wasn't for public transit. I lived in Royal Oak, I was born and raised in Royal Oak, and I didn't have a car, nor could I have afforded a car at the time to go to school, and public transit unlocked that opportunity for me. So it shaped my values as a young adult, and my entire time in public service, whether it was in the state legislature or the last 20 years in the county board, making public transit better in Oakland County was a priority. We had a lot of political barriers. We had a former county executive, Elbert Patterson, some of you might remember, who just didn't believe it was important, and certainly didn't like the interest of expanding the entire region, and stood in the way every single step of every opportunity we had to make that progress. When I became chair of the board, the political conditions changed, and with huge courage and support of our county executive, Dave Colzer, we pushed through a ballot initiative to double funding for transit and get routes to areas that never existed before, and have since, from the moment of that ballot initiative, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Since that moment, there is a base level of transit in every corner of 900 square miles of Oakland County than ever before. And that is more hours than ever before. Some cases, I was told by local political leaders, I don't hear that there's a need for transit in Rochester Hills, and Rochester Hills voters said, oh, hell yeah, we're voting for this, and did. And in some areas of the county, no one even talks about transit here, and yet we see a 400% increase in utilization. So there is a need out there, we're meeting that need. We know we need more resources, but we at least now have resources to ensure a base level of transit, and now we can build upon that and work in stronger collaboration with our regional partners.
I think my partner over there from Oakland County said it perfect. The most exciting thing for us in Wayne County is we're going to be removing barriers around communities and finally connecting all 43 communities in Wayne County. That's something that County Executive Warren Evans is really instilled in his leadership teams, to remove barriers. Once we remove those barriers, we're going to be connected, all 43 communities in Wayne County. Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb are all going to be on the same playing field. And listening to the prior, all the providers that were up here, one thing that I'm really excited about, and it really matters, is when people collaborate at a time. When they collaborate from this organization, everything flows through the system. And I know the question was asked prior about the ride. What is the relationship that we with Wayne County? The reason I was late coming up here is because I was running trying to catch Matt in that. Let him know, look, we got a deal, we're going to make this happen. We want the connection from Ann Arbor to Wayne County. We want people connected all across the region. We're going to start first in Wayne County, now we're going to take it regional. So we're really excited about it.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you all for having me. I'm so thankful that the weather held up. So when I drove up from Lansing, from the capital, that I was able to get here safely. When we talk about the progress that I am really proud of, as you know, I've served as the appropriations chair since 2023. And when I started that job, there were a few commitments that I made to myself and my constituents and to the state. One is that I would always look at the state budget as a moral document. Because when folks are campaigning, you can tell me what you care about. You can tell me you care about seniors and children and public safety. But it is always in the money. Show me the money and I will show you where your morals are. And so last year when we started to negotiate the budget, and it was a long, contentious, rough and tumble, full contact budget negotiation. But when the conversation started around
road funding and how much we could put forward that residents would be able to see something meaningful for roads investment. The thing that Senate Democrats and myself at the negotiations table that we stood firm on was public transit. You see, we did not see a road plan coming together without transit being at the center of those conversations. Because we knew that, you know, this is Michigan. We're gonna always be fixing potholes. We're gonna always have bridge issues and infrastructure issues. But when we look at transit funding, for me, that is a moral imperative. For me, if you cannot do social justice and economic justice and economic development without centering transit, and not just the crumbs, it needs to be centered in those budget negotiations. Now, while there's more work to be done, I'm really proud of what we were able to do. Almost $45 million for local bus operators. We were able to secure so when you look at $2 billion that we were able to secure on an annual basis, public transit has a nickel in that dollar, as my grandmother would say. Now that's the good news. The news that I also bring to you is that there's more work to do. We know we didn't get it all right. We know that there needs to be more that takes place, and there needs to be more creative solutions, not just for solving the problems of today, but real innovative leaders are not just looking at a 5 to 10 year strategy. They're looking at what transit looks like in the next 50 or 100 years. And when we look at a state like Michigan, we have always been on the forefront of getting people from point A to point B. And whether that is public transit or cars or trains, whatever that looks like, we want to make sure that we're using our very limited, precious resources for good. But again, our negotiations started with transit as a non-negotiable, and we saw where we were able to get to with the collaborative process.
I think you guys you guys definitely spotlighted some incredible successes and the work behind them. So I'd like to also, you started touching on what's next, and the work that's coming. But so I'd love to hear from each of you. What are you most excited about moving forward? And I'll tie in there, how can we help? How can transit advocates and allies and business supporters and agencies, how can we come together to accomplish some of the great things that you foresee in the next year or two? Yeah, let's say Assad, looks like you are ready to jump.
Yeah, I'll go first. So obviously with the help of our state legislature, we were able to amend the whole law to allow us to go to the opt-out. So this year in August, on the 26th in August primary, we are going to put out a ballot initiative as a county-wide village to have transit across the entire county. It will be the first time in Wayne County's history where we have connected 43 communities. And the reason this is important is currently the way the system operates now is when you have an opt-out community, think about how to operate that system. You got to work around all those communities. To work around it costs time and it costs money. And now we're going to have more resources in the system. We can be able to service people accordingly, and our dollar will go much further. And I believe we're going to have a great system. And the difference that we're doing, we're not waiting for the ballot initiative to pass to start planning. We started the planning over a year ago. County Executive Warren Evans sent a team of people, along with the RTA, Ben Stuka, and SMART, and representative from SMART. We went to all 43 communities, all 43 of them. We traveled each across the county, met from every single community. We listened to them, we listened to their feedback, because we don't want this to be our plan, Wayne County's plan. We want it to be
the entire 43 communities coming together. We believe in collaboration, we believe in working together, and we believe at the end of the day, when we put this plan on the ballot, we're going to be successful. But we're only going to be successful with your help. We need you to work, every single official, every organization that you know, and let them know how bad you want this to pass. And it's really going to be the first step and several steps into being able to get an entire connected system, so we're all connected, get people to school, get people to jobs, get people to the necessary doctor's appointment, have services for the disabled community, our seniors community, or people that just don't want to own cars for whatever reason. And we got to be able to connect. We got to be able to move people around without relying on them. And this is what we're doing.
All right, so your question, I'm going to answer it, I promise. I'm just going to take the scenic route. Okay, all right, try to do it. So, yeah, there you go. So, I have to say, when I talked about the budget negotiations this year, obviously it was tenacity, it was energy, it was innovation from our team as we were negotiating. Not a dime would have been out without you. The fact that you all showed up and advocated in ways that you could not even imagine. Emails, phone calls, coming to the Capitol, calling lawmakers, sending text messages, emails across the board. Your advocacy made that happen. Oftentimes when I'm in a negotiation and I'm fighting for one little piece of the pie, I often feel alone. When it came to this issue, transit funding, I never felt alone because you all were doing the heavy lifting outside of the room. So I have to give you credit, you a shout out, you applause because of your advocacy that funding happened. Now, so thank you, seriously. What does the future look like? I alluded to it a little bit. I think it's statewide light rail. When I've talked to people, we not only want to shore up regional transit across the state, right? Not only here in Southeast Michigan, and Mid-Michigan, West Michigan, places in Northern Michigan, but can you imagine if folks could quickly connect Detroit to Lansing, Lansing to Grand Rapids, Traverse City, the UP, out to Chicago and other areas across the Midwest in a way that was fast and affordable and accessible, and not just for the folks who want a glass of wine on a fancy train to go up to Traverse City. I'm talking about folks who want to live in Detroit but work in Lansing, or folks who have family on the west side of the state but need to quickly get to mid-Michigan. This would be the next pioneer for our state. Now, this is not a cheap feat. I mean, we're talking billions and billions of dollars, long-term investment. But when I tell you I'm a student of history, and our greatest leaders were visionaries, they could see it before they could see it. And this is something that we have studied year after year after. There were studies from Debbie Stabenow when she was in the House of Representatives. The State House of Representatives, right? We have studied this issue long enough. So I think that would be the next pioneer, the next frontier for transit in the state of Michigan. Now here's the good news. In 2023, when we were negotiating the budget, we hid a little bit of money to just plant the seed for what that could look like. And just recently, the city of Detroit, MDOT, Michigan Central announced that there would be an innovative partnership to start that process. Now, this isn't something that's going to connect the entire state, but it's a start. Because if we are listening to Michigan's greatest asset, which is our young people, as Assad says, some of them never want to own a car, but that doesn't stop them from wanting to travel the state seamlessly and affordably. So if I'm looking into the future, I think it's high-speed rail for the state of Michigan.
On behalf of the transit nerds in the audience, clarify, I don't think light rail is quite what we're looking for, because light rail tends to stop every mile or two or three. But Whether we're talking about express buses that crisscross the state, whether we're talking about rail lines, I think you've got one of the heart of everybody here. So thank you. Let us know how we can help.
Well, I think you're the senator endorsed not just a nickel in that dollar, we need a quarter in that dollar. No, Senator Anthony has been so tremendous on this issue, and we couldn't have a stronger partner in that state without her leadership, and I don't mean to puff her up, but without her leadership, we would not be in this spot where we are today with more funding for transit than ever before. When I think about the things I got on the future, what am I looking for in the future? I think three things. One, the passage of the millage in Wayne County is the most important thing short-term that this region has to do. So Oakland County people who support transit need to be doing everything possible to help. As a county, half our county borders Wayne County in areas that there is no transit option beyond baseline. It's half. And it makes it hard to get people from one location to the doctors, education opportunities, to jobs, because people's lives don't live around the political boundaries of the county. And it's absolutely critical, because it lays the foundation on how this region, for the first time in my adult life, can meaningfully move forward and have conversations saying, what's the next step to transit? What's the next step to transit? Everyone's on the same plane. It kills me that Macomb County was that well, all of us. I thank them, because I got the other model and the voters overwhelmingly approved and we're seeing the success. So that's the first thing. Second thing from the Oakland County area, we're in a conversation every single day is, here's our baseline of service, here's the money we have coming in. Thanks to Senator Anthony and Lansing, we're going to have more money to be able to get the local bus operating matching dollar that brings in additional dollars that helps us support more service of transit all across our county. How do we improve the service to meet the need? The first thing I mentioned when we did our ballot is that people aren't even going to use it. Well, people are now using it. We have a different problem now. We're struggling to find enough drivers. We need more buses. Looking at efficiency and improvements, particularly around frequency, and I want to applaud SMART for the fast routes and increasing frequency on those routes, particularly the Woodward route in Oakland County. I live for the day that we can meaningfully increase that frequency even more. It costs money. Every additional level of frequency you put in there has a dollar figure associated with it. We got to figure out how to come up with those dollars. And then I guess the last thing is, how do we have this conversation around transit? Because most of the people in our 4 million plus population is not going to use public transit on a regular basis. And it's not, if they didn't do it today, they're not going to do it in a long time. Convincing them to say, listen, you might not use it, but people you depend on for your life, whether it's the person who brings the food to you at the table at the restaurant, or cares for your children, or cares for your loved ones in the hospital, or nursing home, what have you, to rely on transit. So the question becomes, where there's lots of money, and this is, I'm going to share one of my frustrations. We passed this wonderful millage, generating $80 million a year in public transit funding across the county. And I have tax capture entities that are capturing my transit millage money, and I sit there like, okay, you took my money, so what are you going to use that money for transit? And we started a conversation with our local downtown development authorities or corridor improvement authorities to say, listen, you have the money you're collecting right now. Can I incentivize you? I'll use some of our additional millage dollars to match with you to improve, whether it's bus stops along the routes or other public investment infrastructure to make it easier for people to use transit. And those conversations just really started in a meaningful way. We put $2 million, that's a modest amount of money, to match with a local DDA and local city, which allows for creativity on how can we make transit better in our community. And I'll tell you one little story, which I didn't realize is that there was a proposal that came in that didn't even make it to my desk, because it was vetted out. Someone wanted a bus stop in an area that there wasn't even a fixed stop route. And my question was why? And they thought, well, we built it, we thought it would come. And that was Independence Township. So the fact that an area that just hasn't historically hadn't embraced transit is thinking in those terms, and we're gonna work with Independence Township. We are gonna build more robust transit in a less densely populated area, because what they found, there's people who want to get to the Pontiac hub, they want to get to the Amtrak station and take them wherever they're going to go, they want to get to other places of connection, and I'm really optimistic about what we can do.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And just as a follow-up, I'm looking at a couple of questions that are coming in through the Slido. And for what you were saying there, Dave, while it's incredible that every part of Oakland County now has at least some level of transit, some of that, and some of those outer communities, that's only accessible by people who live in that community, folks with seniors, people with disabilities. Is that something that you're looking to expand to make sure that everyone has access, that someone can ride to those communities? And then the follow-up was how will we work to make sure that all of those sort of services are available to everyone?
Excellent question. So just for those who don't know, in Oakland County, our funding plan, it's pretty simple. SMART is our fixed routes, our paratransit, our flex provider, and then we have 4 other local, regional, and I would argue that their areas are pretty large, but they are regional, local partners that do more of the curb-to-curb, door-to-door type of service, which probably is more appropriate in some of these rural areas or areas where a fixed route just doesn't make sense economically, frequency-wise, time, people live too far apart. We allocated dollars, actually worked with the same consultant that SMART did for developing their transit plan. And part of the conversation is figuring out, okay, if I've got someone from Holly that needs to get down to Royal, how do we do that? Do we create a system in which the Holly ride make that trek, but I mean, that's an hour ride. So that vehicle is offline for an hour. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Is there a way to hand off to other providers to get them there? Is there a way to coordinate with the providers? And the benefit of the technology that we have, and we're making the investment in increased technology in all of our vehicles, that in real time we can be able to do this. And so I do believe that part of the conclusions of this strategic plan that we've gone through, working with the 4 smaller agencies to figure out how to move people across long distances. Fish routes is the most efficient way to go long distances, so we've got to figure out a way to get them there. But I'm hearing my local providers talk about, like, hey, we can be a hub, and we can bring the smart buses into these hubs and create a space where people can wait and mini transit centers. So I think that you've got the larger transit centers in the region, mini transit centers can get and do that handoff that makes it economically effective way to do. So the answer is yes, that's happening.
It's complicated. It's complicated. It's sort of stuff, as Tiffany mentioned earlier. The tension is always how broad can your service reach versus how frequent can your service run, and it's extremely expensive to do both. So I love that you're exploring ways to make that happen. Thank you. Any thoughts on how Wayne's going to be able to ensure everyone can access those services and reach all 3 communities, like I said?
You know, the privilege that we have in Wayne County is we got to watch Oakland County.
We tripped twice.
So we learn from what didn't work in Oakland County. And we're just trying to work smarter because we've got institutional data we can point to now. Something that Oakland County didn't have, right? So we're looking to see, when we sit down with our communities, we take SMART with us, we take RTA, and it's important because SMART is doing an important part of what Oakland County is doing. And we take those things because even though the name of the communities may change, the rural areas, they have rural areas, we have rural areas. We have dense population areas, they have it. And what we're trying to do is essentially learn from them and implement it here. And hopefully, once we implement our plan, and we're supposed to have a plan here, ready to start sharing with our communities first part of next month. We're really excited about it. That's going to be the first time that the communities get to see the plan after we went around to the 43 communities and we went on get a feedback. So once we put that together, I think we are going to be in a really good position in Wayne County because of our great partners in Oakland County, also Macomb County, and in the state of Michigan. So we're really looking at this from a collaborative atmosphere. We don't have to be the smartest county. We just got to work with other smart people, and we're doing the same.
That's the smartest thing to do, is learn from learn from other folks who've learned what worked and learn where you can do better. Senator Anthony, there's a question about when the Woodward Amtrak service could run more than 3 times a day. Is increasing the frequency of the existing rail service part of the consideration, or any other thoughts as to the initial steps towards those statewide connections?
I sure hope so. It's something that we're exploring. We've been exploring for a number of years. And it is expensive, but we do have existing infrastructure that just needs to be well resourced. And so that's something that we're going to be discussing in our normal budget process. Now, I will say, just as a commercial break, because I know whether it's at the state level and the local level, the budget is going to be janky this year. That's a technical term. You all use the term, right? We are starting our budget process with an $800 million deficit, right? Not school aid. School aid will be fine. But for our general fund, we are going to have some very difficult conversations. Now, oftentimes people think when you're negotiating the state budget that it's really great when you are making decisions about investments. You really want the right people in the room when you're making reductions, when you're figuring out winners and losers, where to trim back, where we cut completely. And so again, you heard me the first question, you're hearing me this question. This isn't what this question is about. But I'm telling you what I know is that we're going to continue to center transit funding even in times that are a little more slim. That is where your advocacy is going to be really helpful. So before we start thinking about big new investments, first we have to make sure that we're sustaining the wins and making sure we're maintaining the gains that we've already got.
I would love to keep picking your brains for a while longer, but we have, between a late start and a hard time cutting off this discussion. I want to ask you to just make any final remarks, especially as we said, we have a nice transit community. Any final remarks you might have about how we can work together, how we can support your efforts so you can support our goals. Yeah, whoever wants to go.
All right, I'll go first. I'll keep it very short and simple. You live in Wayne County, or if you don't live in Wayne County, contact the officials that you know in Wayne County. If you're a resident there, reach out to your local officials. Let them know that you want them to support this initiative, to support this village, so we can be successful and get all 43 communities in Wayne County connected.
Excellent. Thank you.
Echo what Assad said, and I would also make it a point, just because we know that we have incredible public leaders that are die-hard public transit supporters. And you don't need to contact me much. I mean, you can contact me as much as you want, but it's not as much. I'm not going to do that. It's the rest of the public leaders and the city councils and all across this region that I actually think they need to hear from. I mean, it did stick with me during the campaign. The mayor of one of our largest cities said, I've only had 2 people ever, and this is the city of Woodward House, only 2 people ever have ever talked to me about transit, and they were from that true organization. And I'm like, well, there are more people who need transit, and I'm going to show you because 25,000 of them are going to say yes. But I think you actually did speak from a personal experience. He wasn't hearing from it. And so I think it is important that we maintain a dialogue, let our public leaders know every time you're up for election, on an ongoing basis, reach out to them, ask them that they hold the line, especially when budget cuts are on the line, but encourage them to speak out in support of transit. And the number one thing, the most important
this is the most important election of our lifetime. You know, I always say that. I'm not lying this time. This really is, for Michigan, the most important election, because everything's up. U.S. Senate, congressional leaders, a new governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, both the House and the Senate. I want to make sure that they are centering transit issues as a part of their conversations. We need to make sure that before we invest in them with our pocketbooks, with our feet and boots on the ground, that they know where we stand and that they won't betray us if and when they are elected. So be sure that as you're advocating, like you can call me anytime, but you know where I am. But one of the things that was difficult in our budget negotiations were individuals from very rural areas that they couldn't quite sympathize or empathize with some of the issues that we that live in urban cores are trying to make sure are addressed. So we need to make sure that whoever our next leaders are, all the way up and down the ballot, that these are really important issues for them, and that they know that if they do get elected, that this is something we're going to continue to hold them accountable for. So that's what I would say, because you all made all the difference last year.
Thank you so much. Dave and Assad had gotten our lovely transit champion pins when they both were nice enough to join us at our state of transit. I have one for you, Senator Anthony. Thank you so much. Oh yes, absolutely.
If I can just make this, we do an annual report on our transit progress. I brought as many as I had left. There's one right there, and there's someone outside, so if you want to pick up and learn more, feel free to do so. And I'm not bringing them back.
I do as much, thank you so much for all of you. I do want to know, we're not quite done yet, so they're stepping out, but we've heard about the transit progress that has been made. We've heard from the transit agencies about what they're doing, and from the public officials about what they're doing. Now it's time to talk about what we're gonna do. So I do hope that y'all will stick around for another 15 minutes or so to hear a little bit about True's plans, how you guys can get involved, and to help elect some amazing new board members to True's board. So please do stick around for another 15 minutes or so, starting with Joel.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joel Batterman, campaigns manager for True. And we're so glad to have transit champions like the folks we just heard from in elected office. But at the end of the day, as we heard from them, the future of transit in this region is up to us, the people of metropolitan Detroit and Michigan as a whole. True needs your help, now more than ever, to win a level of transit that is more than just minimally adequate. 2026 is a pivotal year for the future of transit in our region. In 2026, we're continuing our campaign to double DDOT bus service. Say it with me, double DDOT. Thank you. The mayor has pledged to improve transit. Now we need to make it real. No Detroiter should have to wait more than half an hour for a bus anywhere in the city. Not on Woodward and Gratiot, and not on Wyoming and McNichols. In 2026, we're also going to fight to renew the tax that sustains transit in Macomb County, and to expand countywide transit and expand transit countywide in Wayne County, as the Deputy County Executive mentioned earlier. We need all hands on deck for those fights. No community in this region should be without a base level of transit. Not Canton, not Plymouth, not, dare I say it, Livonia. We appreciate the county executive's leadership in bringing the Wayne County measure to the ballot. Now we've got to make sure we win in August, and win big, to demonstrate growing public demand for more transit in Metro Detroit. And finally, in 2026, we need to make some change in how we approach transportation at the state level. We've all heard about fixing the damn roads. How about the damn transit? We need the Michigan Department of Transportation to live up to its name, not its old name, the Department of State Highways. How many people here would like to see an express bus connecting Detroit, Lansing, and Grand Rapids? A radical concept, I know, a transit link between Michigan's two largest cities. This is something that could be implemented in months, not years, given state support. It's one example of the kind of shift we need at MDOT, widening transportation options for everyone, not widening highways. I want to acknowledge that there is so much demanding our attention in this historical moment. We know transit is one issue among many, perhaps not even the most important, in a time when our very democracy is being tested. I would argue, however, that as Megan suggested earlier, the fight for transit ultimately is not separate from broader struggles in the city, region, and country. At its best, transit is a public good, a collective investment we make to support the well-being of everyone in our society. We are in a time when all public goods are under attack, a time when more and more of our neighbors are being denied crucial services as well as basic human rights. We need to defend these public goods. And more than that, we need to improve and extend them to build a society that is more just and prosperous and sustainable than it has been in the past. The struggle for public transit in Metro Detroit, Michigan, is part of that fight, and we've got to win. Will you join us? Yeah. Thank you. My colleagues and I will share some opportunities to get more involved in our work. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I am a true believer that the power of the people is a force to be reckoned with, and we never underestimate it. We are all here because we value public transit and the impact it has on the lives of every single one of us here and the people we know. We all work together. We all have to work together to ensure we see the positive change necessary for the success and innovation of the public transit system that hundreds of thousands of residents rely on. True has heard your feedback and wants to ensure we are an organization that can facilitate consistent, meaningful, and impactful opportunities to give for you all to get involved in the fight for better public transportation for the four counties we serve: Wayne, Washtenaw, Oakland, and Macomb County, and beyond. Is this better? Transforming our public transit system will need all hands on deck. Whether you have a little time to spare or a whole day, True has an opportunity for you to get involved. Come and canvas with us to spread the word about key proposals that will shape the future of the transit system for the next decade. Come and join Joel for a ride-along with elected officials to shine a light on the reality of everyday riding. If you have the time, we would love to see you at the Capitol, lobbying for transformation of transit with us, or presenting with our Speakers Bureau to highlight the benefits of transit to target audiences and informing them on how they can become more effective transit advocates. When you're ready to wind down, True has you covered with a few laid-back social events throughout the year. You can come and get your butt looked by yours personally at a fun game night. You have some people in the college who tell you I am undefeated in 7 foundation. join us for food and drinks throughout the city to have a great time with people who get it. And sometimes you don't want to explain it. You just want to talk to people who get it. No matter how much time you have to spare, if you can hear my voice, it's because you do care about public transportation. So get involved with True today so that you don't miss out on all the great stuff going on this year. Behind me, you can see some of the upcoming events from now to May, actually. I just want to highlight a few. So if you're in our organization, contact us. If you haven't been involved lately, you want some volunteer opportunities. If you've been on the phone, we have a volunteer orientation coming up February 10th. So you can get back to the phone, get back to your business, and find out how you can get involved directly. We also have a volunteer meeting shortly after that so that you can get right into things. We have an I Love Transit Social coming up. That's one of those late night events where you can get together and you can just enjoy loving transit with other transit lovers and advocates. Also, we have a Transit Tuesday talk for rural transit. It's the first one of the year. So we heard some of our elected officials and policymakers speaking on the differences between rural and urban transit. And the problems they face, this is a great time to get into the nitty-gritty of that. If you personally are interested, or you know someone who's interested in supporting our efforts in expanding transportation throughout Wayne County, come and join us for our Wayne County Transit Task Force. And we have a whole host of other events throughout here that we'll be discussing and getting involved in. So if that's something you're interested in, we have a volunteer sign-up sheet with that. And don't think of yourself as a volunteer that works 2020 days. Think of yourself as a transit advocate and lover who wants to make it. You can also find me if you need any information, and I will be there. One last thing. These are a lot of events. You may not be able to keep them all in mind. That's okay. You can always check in our upcoming events on our website at detroittransit.org/events. That's detroittransit.org/events to see our calendar firsthand. And of course, we're always welcome to reach out to me directly at zkelly@detroittransit.org. That's zkelly@detroittransit.org. So any questions or ideas you have for me? Thank you all.
He just rocks it every time. I love working with all my colleagues at True. It's wonderful. Thank you all so much for braving the cold to come out and be with us tonight. This weather is a good reminder of why we all care about transit and why we're all out here tonight. So thank you so much. As you've heard, we've got a lot of successes that you all have been a part of. So I'd like to congratulate all of you on these successes that we've had this year. So please give yourself a round of applause. We've also heard about all the work that we have to do and the organizing and partnerships and coordinating messages at the city, the county, and the state level. Takes a lot of time and effort, and it's only because of you that we can do these kinds of things every day. So the best way that you all can keep involved is going to the various events that we've got going, and also to become a sustaining member at True. We can't do this work by ourselves. We need support. Individuals can become a sustaining monthly member of True for just as little as $5 a month. Only $5. Can you believe it? $5 to be a part of this amazing organization. And that's an annual fee, by the way. The other way that folks can get involved is check and see if your employers have an employee donation match program. That is one of the ways that corporations can get involved and support our work. And if you have any questions, or if you are an organization or a corporation or even a small business that is interested in investing in this shared mission, please get in touch with me at Deb, deb@detroittransit.org. I want to thank you again for coming here this evening, and I'd like to welcome back to the stage TRU's board chair, Nicole Brown.
Greetings, everyone. You guys still with us? Yes. All right, we have a little bit of business to take care of, and we will send you home. So we are excited. This is, so not only starts our annual State of Transit meeting, it also is our annual meeting. So with a little bit of business, we are always excited as we begin to welcome new board members to TRU. If you have paid your membership fee, which is as little as $5, whether you have just clicked the QR code that was up there a few moments ago and paid your $5 to join, or if you joined during our Giving Tuesday or any time in between, this is your opportunity to have a voice in how TRU's board is structured. Each fall, our board embarks upon an intense board recruitment process. We are always looking for incredible board members who are passionate transit advocates to join our team, which helps to work to support Megan and the entire amazing staff that are as TRU. And so, if I can please have the candidates, as I call your name, come to the front. We are going to be voting on a slate of 5 candidates, 4 new constituent board members and 1 returning. TRU board members serve a term of 3 years and can be elected multiple times to serve. Can I please have Ms. Brittany Simmons come to the front? Ms. Simmons is a transportation planner. In addition to her transportation expertise, is also an expert social media strategist. Come on. Also on that track, please have Jordan Cleveland please come to the stage. Jordan is a training advocate, and she is also a program manager for Catch the Ride. We are so excited to be able to have her join our board. Join us on stage. He also has a twisted love for the outdoors and hoping Detroiters and those who love our different experience it as he's worked as a volunteer and partnership manager with the Detroit River Conference. Also, if I can have Melinda Powers please join us on stage. She had brings to the board 2 decades of board governance as a consultant, and we're so excited to have her join our board this evening. And last but certainly not least, we are pleased to bring up for re-election Dr. Turfe, who is he joined our board 3 years ago, and we are so excited to have his expertise and all things policy and the his continued passion for transit to on our board. So, this is where you guys come in. May I please have a motion to elect our 4 new board members, Brittany, Joanna, David, Melinda, and our re-elect for another 3-year term, Donald, to our board. May I please get a motion to approve this slate?
So moved.
Second? All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. How about an all in favor? Okay. Fantastic. Can I please have an all in favor from our board members?
Everyone all in favor say aye.
Aye. Do I have any abstentions? Do I have any nays? Motion is approved. And I will pass it back over to Minnie.
Yeah, don't go anywhere because, we're gonna get a picture and we have a special,
Yeah, we got a special, our staffing board members getting special true pins, so you'll have pins for each of you, and then we're gonna do a picture. But, most of y'all know Cunningham, it wouldn't be a community meeting on transit if Cunningham didn't share a few quick words. So, to close us up for the night, Cunningham's gonna share a few words. I will ask folks, there's let's go back to Slido, there's a closing survey. Tell us what you thought of the event, what could have been better, what you want to see at future events. And I really appreciate folks sticking around. Thanks so much for being here. And let's hear a little bit from Cunningham.
So you see the weather is kind of frigid, and I'm asking everyone on your route, you have your vehicle, we were nice and cold, we were blessed, a lot to be grateful for. I have a love pack that I give out in the community. It's a 2-hour pass, hand warmer, and a portable charger. So preferably pick someone who's maybe disabled or a lady, but I'm asking you to take it and give it to somebody at random. And it just brings them a lot of joy. It's something I've been doing for years. The bus service is not all the time. I'm here in both services. So it just brings a little joy to that person that you bless on the side of the road, that's waiting on the bus at random. And I also love like-minded people. I put positive messages on the line, 313-444-9114. 313-444-9114. If you ever need to get out and reach out to me. And whoever wants to do that for me, they go on right here. And so she's going to take it and give it to somebody. Anybody's 10 of them. Anybody else? There you go. Anybody else? All right. I'm
Thank you
giving my
so
back
much,
to
Cunningham.
Thank you everyone for coming. With all of our new board members and our existing board members meet in front of the blue banner there. And everyone